Excuse yourself. Yes.
Okay, it's spinning.
Um,
Okay, so you guys are probably live from this point forward. I'm refreshing.
Okay, thank you. I think.
Here for the ride.
Okay, you guys are live.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sue Ann Carlson. This is Bob Wells. I am the Executive Director of Homes on Wheels Alliance, and Bob is the President of the Board of Trustees, and he's with Cheap RV Living. He's the owner of Cheap RV Living. And we are here today to talk about the Rubber Tramp Rendezvous and the Women's Rubber Tramp Rendezvous. So in addition to that, just to let you know, after we spend a little bit of time talking about the RTRs, we'll also talk a little bit about what's going on in the world and some of our thoughts about that. So with that, Bob, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you as the annual welcomer to the RTRs. That was one of the things I look forward to every year, is to hear Bob's welcome. So.
Right. Well, thank you, Sue Ann. Yeah, we're on the HOWA YouTube channel, and so that's very, very good. Everyone should be checking it out. Lots of good stuff there. Yeah, about the RTR, a brief history, I think, would be good. My first gathering was probably back in 2007, and it was a Yahoo group. And then I went to a gathering in Ohio, and that was really good. And then in 2008, I went to a gathering in Tucson and outside of Tucson, and that was really good. And then in 2010, that was in Pahrump, right? In 2010, I did my first gathering of my own. It was in Pahrump. It wasn't the RTR. And we had 13 people there, just a bunch of friends from the Yahoo group and from friends that we had made. And that's when I met Sue Ann for the first time. I put it out on Cheap RV Living, the blog, the website, and there was no YouTube channel. And so you showed up at that one. First time I met you.
Yes.
You were on a 6-month journey.
I was checking out the national parks.
Right. Kind of a healing journey.
It was a healing journey. I had just recently lost my daughter to brain cancer. So, and I had a Prius at the time, and so that's what I used.
And so that was not an RTR, but that went so well.
It was wonderful.
It was really good. And we hung together for like a month because we were on land where we could hang out there. And so that when I got the inspiration to start the RTR, I said, well, this is good enough. Well, I can just put out a call for everyone to come and join us on the website. The website had become popular after the 2008 economic crash. And so I put out a call, got the word out early saying there's going to be a gathering. The name of the gathering will be Rubber Tramp Rendezvous. People will ask why Rubber Tramp Rendezvous. I love the mountain men. I love the independence, the love of nature. And I think of the mountain men of the early 1800s, mid 1800s in the Colorado Rockies and all across the West. I think of them as the ultimate nomad, living just on horseback and moving and trapping and seeing. They're the ones that opened up the entire West, really. And so the rendezvous, once a year, the mountain men would have a rendezvous. No matter how independent they were, they needed to gather. And so once a year rendezvous, that's where rendezvous came from. Rubber Tramp came from the movie Into the Wild by Sean Penn about Chris McCandless in Alaska. You probably know his story. And it was a fantastic movie. And they talked about rubber tramps. Rubber tramps come from the hobo days, the early 1900s, when there were hobos who rode the rails. There were leather tramps who walked all around. They were looking for work, and they started out because they had no jobs, so they were on the move looking for jobs, and eventually they just settled into, I'm talking a long time.
Go for it. You can
I always talk a long time. And so they settled into this looking around for jobs because there was no work, and in the Depression and so on, before the Depression too. And so especially the men that came back from World War I in 1918. They were out looking for adventure. They couldn't settle back down into normal life. And so that's where the phrase rubber tramp come from. They were not on trains. They were not walking on foot, leather tramps. They were rubber tramps.
Meaning the tires.
The rubber tires under the wheel. Yes. And that phrase is used in Sean Penn's movie Into the Wild. There's a couple in a who would kind of adopt him. She adopts him and kind of as a mother figure. And they refer to themselves as rubber tramps. And that's where I got the phrase. But it's an old phrase. So that's why Rubber Tramp Rendezvous. We've held it every year since then. Last year was the 10th. This will be the 11th.
This is the 11th year. Yes.
This will be the 11th annual RTR. And last year was different, if you know anything about the RTR. And it's grown. It started out at 45 people on the first one. And it grew and grew. And it was a couple hundred. And then I went on YouTube. Boom. Literally, boom. And once I had gone onto YouTube, it exploded. The first RTR after YouTube was between 3,000 and 5,000. I think closer to 5,000. The second RTR after the YouTube, I went on YouTube, was 10,000, and would just keep growing. But the BLM put a kibosh on us. They saw Burning Man coming, and they made our lives so hard we couldn't even figure out how to put it on in the same way. We went to the fairground, as you know, for last year. And this year, with COVID, we're just not going to gather people together with COVID. That's not a possibility. We're not wearing masks because we're family.
Right.
We're kind of a family unit.
We camp together.
Yeah. So if I get it, she gets it, and she gets it, I get it. And the our little community does. Just a few people. And we're all very, very careful. Masks. I wear a face mask. I wear the shield away from when I'm in town. It's all precautions. That's the history of the RTR.
So in terms of doing the RTR, what were your goals when you started?
A community. That's all. I did teach. I did have the idea that it would be for newbies, a place for newbies to go and learn. And so there have always been classes. And it was just easier for me to teach the classes because I knew them and I could talk fast. And I could talk loud. I'm a big loud mouth. And I wouldn't allow myself to get bogged down in questions and disputes. I put it into it. Speaking in that kind of a situation takes some special skill on the speaker's part, and I had it. So I taught all the classes. That's, of course, stopped now. I'm only teaching one. Last year, I think, did I teach any last year?
You taught the same one.
Taught the same one.
Which one are you teaching?
I'm teaching on state residents and mail. Those are complicated topics, and I think I can convey them quickly. I only got half an hour this time. I don't know how much I can say in half an hour, but I'll
45
try.
minutes, yeah.
I have 45 minutes?
You can take 45 minutes.
Oh, okay. But I'll do my best and just real quickly go over it. I can't give you all the details. That's the thing. I can't try and give the details. So it's always been about community. Meeting people, and the teaching for the newbies is very important. And we're doing that. And that's what we're going to tell you all about, the teaching for the newbies. But we cannot do the gathering, and that's a real shame.
Right. Yeah. It's real sad.
It is very sad.
But I think it's really cool that those goals have stuck.
Yes.
They haven't changed. They're still what we want to see happen in the RTRs. So one of the things that we are doing to try to fill that gap for community is we've established a couple of places that people can go in and informally make connections, kind of like at your own risk. So if you want to go into Facebook to the HOWA groups, there's one called Camp Together, CAMPTOGETHER. And if you put that into the search bar and look for that group, you'll find us. And then you can actually post on there kind of two different perspectives. You can say, I have this camp and this is where it is. And this is the kind of people I'm looking to camp with. This is the kind of COVID precautions I want to have in my camp. And then invite people to your camp. Or you can say, I am looking for a camp in this general area. And this is the kind of environment and kind of folks I'm looking to camp with. So do take advantage of that group on Facebook. And then there's also a similar sub forum in the cheaprvliving.com forums. And so it's the URL is cheaprvliving.com/forums with an S. And there's make your post in there. And again, express either your desire to bring people to your camp or to camp with folks. And so, you know, to me, community is important. I'm really grateful that I have a small group of folks that I get to have a bit of community with, and I wish that for everybody, that that we can have this during the online classes.
Can I go back and say one more thing?
Absolutely.
I've never made any money on the RTRs. They never really cost me much either because it was on free BLM land. There has never been a charge for the RTR. Everything has been free. But as it grew, I did start to have some costs, and I've always paid them. I've never made money on any RTR. It's always cost me money. And the last two, where we knew we had to bring in toilets, they cost me quite a bit because toilets aren't cheap. On the last really large one, I think my total cost for the toilets was $15,000. And I always asked for donations to cover the cost. Before that, it didn't matter. It was $100 or $200 or a few $100s, and I just paid. I didn't care. But once we hit into the tens and 15s of thousands of dollars, it became important. And so I started asking for people to donate. Some did, most didn't. And it's never, while I ran it, I never made a profit. It always cost me, that year, it cost me quite a bit. Thousands. It cost me thousands to put that one on. But since then, we have transferred it. It is no longer Bob Wells RTR. It is now 100% a function. Last year was
the first year.
Yeah, last year was a full function of Homes on Wheels Alliance. I was involved in the planning, fair amount, not a lot, some guidance. This year, I've had nothing to do with it. You guys have done it all. They've done a fantastic job. It'll be very different, but it's no longer a Bob Wells function. It is a Homes on Wheels Alliance function. It will go on without me. I could not have a thing to do with it again, and it would go on just fine. And we are kind of hoping for it to be a fundraiser for Homes.
Eventually, yeah. And actually, we do have if you would like to support HOWA and support the RTRs, we do have a way for you to donate for that, and it's a really simple URL. It's HOWA, HOWA .support, SUPPORT. So just put that into your address line on your browser, HOWA.support, and you'll come up. We try to make it super simple because at the RTRs, we would just have a jar and people would plunk in their dollar. Yeah. So if you can give. If you can't, don't give because we want you there. Right.
Yeah. No costs. There's no cost to attend. We hope you'll support us, but if you don't, you're welcome.
Exactly. And while I'm talking about that, we also have some swag. So if you want a 2021 online RTR sticker, we have those. We have all kinds of things, water bottles, t-shirts, that kind of stuff. And you can go to the URL HOWA.store. So it's HOWA.store. Just put that in the URL and you'll find our store, and the proceeds of that go to support HOWA similarly. So I thought I would give some history of the women's RTR.
Yes.
It's 11th annual RTR. It's the 4th annual women's RTR. And I've been involved in the RTRs since the beginning, when there was no women's RTR. And I was also involved in the Cheap RV Living forums. And in that forums, there's a sub-forum for women. And I just kept noticing that women were saying, I want a place to gather. I want a place to meet other women. And then I noticed a couple of other themes. One is that centered around women's hygiene. So, you know, where can I ask my question that feels too personal to post here? And women's safety. And so with that, Bob, for the 2018 RTR, you had announced in late 2017 that you were going to shorten it by 3 days. And so I approached you and asked if I could take those 3 days and do a women's gathering, a women's RTR. And you agreed. So that's what we've been doing. That first year, we had, I believe, 200 women. And then, and that was, of course, a face-to-face gathering. The second year was 2019, where we met off of Plamosa Road in Bouse. And we had anywhere between 700 to 1,000 women. So it was growing. but again, because of issues with getting permits in the BLM, we had it at the fairground. So it's kind of gone through the same transitions that the RTR has. And again, like the RTR, some things have just remained constant. Of course, classes for newbies, community, but the questions that the newbies have still center around women's hygiene and women's safety. So that has been a real constant at every women's RTR from the beginning to now.
Right, and we might add that every RTR has always had a women's only meeting, at least one, almost always two.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so this was just that idea expanded on.
Right, right. And those meetings before we had the women's RTR were really quite special times. And I know I came to really look forward to them year after year, as I know a lot of other women did, and have great memories of those bonds that were formed during those times. So yeah, so we just actually just expanded on that.
And I know there are people out there that object to a women's only meeting, and I understand. If your objection's noted, and I understand it, I appreciate it, but we're just gonna have to agree to disagree, and that's the bottom line.
And it's a heck of a lot of work, you guys.
Yeah, no, it's enormous.
It is not something I requested lightly, because I knew I had done enough events in the past to know that what I was getting into. So I thought.
Oh, Sue, and just to let you guys know, I sent you the first card for when you're ready later.
Okay, thanks. Very much appreciate it. So I thought we would talk a little bit about our sponsors for the RTRs.
Okay.
Would you like to talk about Nomadland, the movie?
Right. Of course, you probably have heard by now, and some of you may not have. We are in, there's a Hollywood, it's a Hollywood film with big Hollywood stars, and they made a movie out of Nomadland, the book, Jessica Bruder's book. And I've mentioned it on the channel before, my channel. And they made a movie out of it, and a number of us nomads, myself included, were on.
And me.
And you, yeah, you were
a
in
little
it,
bit.
a little bit, and several others were on it, and I just have a real brief, kind of a cameo type thing, and it's really good. They made a large contribution to Homes on Wheels Alliance.
We can say.
We can say,
yeah.
How much was it?
$75,000.
$75,000. That's a large contribution. And so we are definitely counting them as a sponsor of this year's RTR.
And that's Nomadland Productions. Just thank you guys so much.
Yeah. And it hasn't come out yet in the USA. It's out in a lot of the world, but America's not really got theaters as such. So, and we're in the midst of this enormous resurgence of COVID. So hopefully it will be out and you can see it soon. I sure hope so. It's scheduled for February 4th?
February 19th.
February 19th.
Mm-hmm. So let's fingers crossed that the pandemic is under control at that time in the States, and we can see it on the big screen. The cinematography is beyond, it's just fantastic.
I would say the sunrise and sunset is one of the stars, primary stars of the whole movie. It's amazing.
Yes, I thought they did a really good job of Nomad's connection to nature.
Let me throw one thing in. The movie is actually about the story of different people's grief. And so people are a little surprised. It's kind of a dark movie because the story is about grief and healing from grief. And a lot of us nomads come to living in vans, cars, vans, and RVs as a healing process of our grief. And so it's absolutely accurate and I think very loving and kind to nomads. But be aware that it's kind of a story about grief more than anything else. And the healing comes through being nomadic. So the nomadic is almost the subset of the movie, and the primary drive is this healing from grief.
Yeah, really good.
Well, that's my opinion. It's only my opinion. You go out and form your own.
And then how about, do you want to talk about electric e-bikes?
Right. Electric e-bikes is a sponsor of the RTR. They have been so good to us. They've donated, they've given me a couple bikes that I have tested, and you've seen my reviews of them on my YouTube channel, Cheap RV Living. And you can, I pass those along to other people because I really didn't need one, but they're fantastic bikes. For the money, if you have a true need for an electric bike, they're the bike to buy. They just simply are. They're, for the bang for the buck, nothing beats them. They're good, really great quality, really great quality. You're looking at $1,500 to have anything equivalent, and really, really good, great little bikes. So they've treated us so well. They've made large donations. I don't know if we can say.
Yeah, we can.
How much of their total so far?
Well, I think they've donated all together with the test bikes and the test drive bikes and the ones for the sweepstakes, I think 11 bikes so far, which retail is $11,000 plus a cash donation for $10,000.
Right. So they've supported us hand over fist. Just fantastic. And do we still have a sweepstakes going?
We do.
Oh.
We have they have a new model out. These are step through bikes, and these are kind of the same basic style as what we used to call girls bikes, but for us whose knees are creaky, and just makes it easier to get on and off of the things. So we have 2 step through bikes that will be doing the drawing for in a sweepstakes, and that drawing is this month. It's January 28th, so it's coming up. The last day to buy tickets for that sweepstakes is January 21st. We need to leave a week in there for people who chose not to purchase a ticket to send us those things by mail. But the January 21st is the last day to purchase those tickets. If you want to support HOWA, or if you want to read the description on how to get a ticket for free, because no purchase is necessary, you can go to HOWA, HOWA.rallyup.com. That's RALLYUP.com/step-through, and that's spelled STEPTHRU, just all one word. So it's HOWA.rallyup/step-through. And so those bikes that you'll see there were donated by Electric E-Bikes, but the funds that are raised in the sweepstakes go to support Homes on Wheels Alliance. Thank you, Levi and crew at Electric E-Bikes.
They make a great product, great price, and they support the community. So I really encourage you all to support them.
So our third sponsor for the RTRs, and just for HOWA in general, is Cheap RV Living, Bob's business, and he has donated money. I think, what was it, the first year, like $76,000 or some very large amount.
Well, in the last 2 years, I've donated $100,000 to Homes on Wheels Alliance.
Yes.
Over the last 2 years.
There you go. So we would not be here, not just because of Bob's vision and work to make this happen, but because of your financial support and your customers' financial support, the people that are watching your YouTube channel. Yes, you. So thank you very much, and thank you very much, Bob. And
you guys get the credit. Every time you watch one of my videos, I make a little bit of money, not a lot, but a little bit, and man, it adds up. And I live in a van. I don't need a bunch of money. I get more money than I can possibly need, and so I save it. And in the last 2 years, you watching my videos, I was able to contribute that $100,000. So you did that when you subscribed. When you watched a whole video, if you ever watched any of the commercials, if you hit a like button, if you shared it on your social media, that all made a little money, and that money added up. And that's why HOWA is here today. Now it's pretty well off on its own. It doesn't depend on my, I'm going to still contribute because I still have way more money than I need or want. But personally, my money is going to start going towards land. I want to get land. My goal this year is to buy land. And I have a bunch of money saved for, I've contributed a lot, $100,000 in 2 years, but I've been saving towards buying land, and I've got enough money to buy some land. And that is what we really have to solve the RTR problem going in the future.
So for those of you that may not know about when we say all these funds are going to support HOWA, we have some really important programs that people are people's lives are being changed. We're providing minivans for people who, if they didn't get that minivan, would not have shelter, or they would be in some sort of public shelter. Last December, we had a donor give us anonymously significant funds where we were able to give $50 bills and gift cards to people, that in the holiday season where money is tight and they didn't know what they were going to do next. We do things to build community. For example, we have, without COVID, we would have caravans where people could camp together. Again, another program that started with Cheap RV Living and moved over to HOWA. But now we have virtual caravans that we have community. We have community online through Zoom, which is very, very cool. And during the RTR, we've added a virtual caravan for each night of the RTR classes. So if you want to go from a class where you're learning all this stuff and you're asking your questions and you want to interact with other nomads or want to be nomads, go to meetup.com/caravans and sign up to go to one of the evening caravans at 6 o'clock Arizona time.
Very good.
So very good. So we have some serious stuff going on in the country right now.
We do.
And
never seen anything like any of this. Bizarre.
Yes. And I thought it was important that we not ignore it, that we recognize that it's going on, and give some thoughts about how we look at it, and how we look at it as nomads, and how being a nomad could possibly be a good thing during this time. You want to talk about that?
Well, you know, for the last 4 years, a lot of people have come to me with great fears and worries and potential problems that they could see. And my answer has always been, we're in for some real rough times, and we've seen some real rough times, but I had so much confidence in the foundation stone of America and democracy that I've always believed that as bad as things could get and have gotten, and they still could get worse in the next, in the next 10 days or 12 days or whatever it is, next month, I believe the foundation and the structure is strong of this country. It's founded on such good principles and such amazing wisdom, and goodness, basic fundamental goodness. And I guess I have hope and confidence in the basic fundamental goodness of this country. And we've certainly lost our way. A portion of the country has lost their way and are going the wrong way. And but I have absolute confidence that the structures will hold and we will come back. And I've heard about, but I just watched Arnold Schwarzenegger's message to the country. It was fantastic. I would really encourage you. He said it so much better than I could. And at one point he holds up Conan's sword. He's a movie star, and he says swords are made by tempering, and tempering means beat the crap out of. Get it super hot and beat it with a hammer, and then put it in cold water, and then beat it with a hammer, and do that over and over and over. And the more, the better. And we are there. That's us. We've been beaten with the hammer, and the hammer's going hard right now. I love this whole imagery from. So go watch Arnold Schwarzenegger. Just look it up on YouTube. And I believe we're going to come out better and stronger than ever. And I know a lot of people are very worried, concerned, and thinking the worst. And I just don't think that way. I think it's going to be, the steel's being beaten, and it's going to go in the cold water. There's going to be horrible experiences. But I think we're going to come out better. And I really, truly believe that. And above everything, I believe that a nomad is in a position to get through this better than anyone. The last year has had no negative impact on my life at all. Minor inconveniences. Wearing a mask is a minor inconvenience. I wear a shield when I'm around people. I go into town less, but look where I am. I'm in beautiful, you can't really see, but I'm in beautiful nature. My life is rich and full, and your life can be too. And if you'll just get in the car and be ready to drive away when the tempering is happening, and it's going to happen again. I don't know when or how. There's going to be more. It's life. But I think a nomad is ready and prepared And so if you're not a nomad and you're here listening and thinking, get ready and do it. I think just do it. Just not all in, baby steps, get a vehicle, learn how to travel. And when the next wildfire or hurricane or political upheaval, whatever's coming down the road, economic collapse, whatever, you'll be ready. And so become a nomad, get at least 1 foot deep into being a nomad, and I think your life's going to be so much better. I think if we could get all the nomads to testify how the last year's affected them, they're going to all say that they're so glad they were a nomad when these horrible things happened. And I think you would be able to say that as well.
Thanks. So I've received some questions about what we'll do if something, I guess, catastrophic or horrible happens, maybe not catastrophic, but something horrible happens through the time of the online RTR classes, which starts tomorrow and ends on the 20th, Inauguration Day. So the idea is that, in my mind, these classes are even more important during that time. So unless we lose our internet, we're going to be there, you guys. So please join us. And these classes are for newbies and for skill building, and look forward to seeing you there. If you want detailed information on their speakers and their personal YouTube channels or websites, please go to homesonwheelsalliance.org/2021 RTRs. That's 2021 RTRs. And we'll see you there. It's going to be, it's very different, but I'm pretty excited about it, actually. It's coming together. A great committee working on it.
Amazing.
Yeah. So with that, how about if we get to some questions? And if you don't know this yet, go ahead and type your questions in the chat. And one of the moderators is going to write it down, and they send it to us by email. So the first question is, how do I register for the classes? So you know they're free. You also don't have to register for them. You can just go to the Homes on Wheels Alliance YouTube channel, right where you are right now. So just come here and we'll be here. The format of the class is, just so that you know, the first 15 minutes, we're going to run a slideshow as people come and join us. Then the speaker will talk about their topic, and then we'll have questions and answers. And then we'll all go into chat for about 15 minutes while the final 15-minute slideshow is running. So yeah, come and join us. No need to register. It's free. We just want to give you that information and have you be able to ask some questions of the speakers.
Well, let me also throw in that they're going to edit them for length, to make them a little shorter, and they will replay on the Cheap RV Living channel within 24 hours.
The next day. Let's say the next day.
Yeah. Sometime the next day, both the classes, the two classes will go on. What time are they? 10 and 2?
10 and 2, Mountain Time.
And then the next day, sometime, probably closer towards evening, they will replay on mine. And then the full-length classes will always be on the Homes on Wheels Alliance channel.
Correct.
You can watch them anytime.
Correct. So the shorter 15, 18-minute videos on Cheap RV Living, and the longer full hour with question and answers on the HOWA, you can come and watch them at your leisure. So what do you see as the future goals of the RTR?
Same as they've always been, of course, helping newbies and building community. So that will not change. Never. Can't imagine that will ever change. I hope and I'm confident that I've imparted the vision. That's my goal as the founder, I think, is to impart that fundamental vision, and then the details of how it will be carried out. That will always change with circumstances, but that vision, helping newbies with the details of how to live the life, and then inspiring and building community. That's never going to change. The form, that we don't know. I think the form is to buy land where we're not at the mercy of the BLM or the National Forest or the local Chamber of Commerce or anything. We call our own shots. I think the future, the form, is buying our own land and having control.
Right, and possibly not just one RTR during the year, but multiple RTRs. So perhaps a 50-acre parcel or a 100-acre parcel isn't big enough, but if we have it in multiple locations throughout the year, then we can actually reach more people altogether.
Right. Yes. If we have one in the spring, a fall, a winter, you know, and in different regions of the country, the East Coast, West Coast, then you're not driving 2,000 miles once a year for a once-a-year event. That's ultimately the goal. Is my personal ultimate goal is to have a piece of land in all 4 quadrants of the country, so we can have an east and west winter and an east and west spring or summer. And so we're not holding huge events where we all gather at one time. Maybe we'll continue to do that. And I think we still will. That's kind of the nature of humans, to have one great big gathering, but multiple small gatherings will be much better.
Yes, yes. It's been challenging finding land. The 2 biggest gotchas is finding a county that will allow these kinds of gatherings. And the second one is finding a parcel that has internet access. So if you've got some inroads, be sure to write us at homesonwheelsalliance@gmail.com. We would love to find some land that meets those 2 requirements. And of course, access.
And what are we looking for? A minimum of 50 acres, would we say?
Yeah, I think a minimum of 50 acres, preferably more.
Preferably more.
Yeah, and that's actually 50 campable acres.
Right.
So, you know, if there's huge washes that keep you from a part of the parcel, that wouldn't meet the criteria.
And within a reasonable price. I mean, people send me 50 acres that are $1 million. Right. We're not spending $1 million.
We don't have that.
No, we could spend 100,000 down and maybe carry some payments. That is entirely doable. So whatever within that price range, doable payments, reasonable, within $100,000 down payment.
Right. Okay. Brian Leonard asks, is traveling safe in this division of USA? What are you recommending? So I'm thinking he's thinking, presume this region of the U.S. Do you think it's safe to travel here?
Well, I think maybe division he meant with the divide, the fighting, infighting.
Oh, maybe it is.
Yeah, with all the infighting. Well, my answer to that is the way it's always been: stay away from the towns and the cities. That's where the people are going to gather. You know, a large city is probably going to attract gatherings and attention, and there are going to be riots. And right or left, far right, far left, who cares? It's a riot.
Right.
I mean,
and you don't want to be there.
You don't want to be there. If it's far right, far left, who cares? Just don't be there. And so as long as you stay away from large cities. We're near Quartzsite, Arizona. There are not going to be any riots here, I don't believe. And if they are, I'm going to camp out in the desert anyway. And good luck finding me. And I can make myself unfindable if I want to be. And that's true. And come summer, I'll be up in the National Forest, and I can make myself unfindable up there real easily. So just have plenty of supplies. And I am doing videos on, I don't know if they've come out yet, but I have a video coming out on water filters. Have a water filter. Be near a water source. Here we got the Colorado River. We can go to the Colorado River, and with a water filter, we've got water in deficit. I'm suggesting I have a bucket of 30 days worth of food. It's a 6-gallon bucket, and have a bucket with 30 extra days of food. You got that, a water filter, a water source, and a bucket of food, and whatever food you have on hand. Have plenty, all the supplies you need. Go hide. You can go hide really easily if you're living in a van, even if you're living in a car. I mean, the 6-gallon bucket of food and a water filter, you're pretty set. And then all your normal food and supplies, you know, stoves, and get set up with one of these little tiny wood burning stoves. You can do all your cooking over a wood burning stove and just find enough twigs. You can find enough twigs to burn to cook that kind of food. Needs to be rehydrated, so you're going to need to burn more fuel. But carry just a little tiny flat folding wood burning stove, twig burning stove, and you're set. So be that minimally prepared for the worst, and I don't think it will ever come to that. I'm out on public land, and I've never seen it. You know, they're not going to be roving bands of far right or far left rioters out on public land anywhere. It's just not going to happen. There's no value in it. There's no one out there. So just if you become a nomad and a boondocker, your problems are solved. I really think that.
Okay, thanks. Sinclair asks, how long are the online classes? So the classes themselves are an hour. The first part is the speaker, and the second part is question and answers. And then 15 minutes before is a slideshow, and 15 minutes after is another slideshow. Okay. Marie S., how can I find someone to camp with? We talked about the online options. What about if I'm just out and about? How do I find somebody to camp with?
And I think that's the most realistic thing that's going to happen. Here's how the way nomad living works. In the winter, we gather into the few places that are really comfortable over the winter. In this case, it's either probably going to be Florida or the desert Southwest. And so if you go to either of those places, and especially, of course, I know the West. So if you come to Quartzsite or Parker or Yuma, you're going to look around and see hundreds, thousands of other, go to Slab City, go to Anza Borrego. There's a few places we always go. And if you go there and you be friendly, look for a group, don't get too close, and then approach them carefully, kindly, respectfully, and kind of, hey, how you doing? Nice rig you got there. How you doing? Enjoying the weather? I mean, just approach them. If you want friends, be friendly. Yeah, there's nothing simpler in the world than that. If you want friends, be friendly, and make friends. And I can almost guarantee that the most of the times they're looking for a friend too. They're shy, just like you, and one of you needs to make the first approach. And let's take the worst. This is an old curmudgeon who just wants to be left alone. What's he going to do? He's going to say he's going to ignore you or be curt, and you're going to find out right away. This guy wants to be left alone. Leave him alone. Pretty simple. Look for the next person, and you do need to do that. You need to get out there, make friends, and almost without exception, people make friends, lifelong friends, and away they go. And a lot of people then will get together and travel together. I've seen people travel together for a long time. Hopefully we can start the caravan soon, and that will just kind of solve all of this problem.
Yes.
But, until then, it's going to fall on you to go to populated areas. Go to Ehrenberg. There's a bunch of people over at Ehrenberg. Go to my website. Go to my YouTube channel, Cheap RV Living. Look up Ehrenberg. You'll find directions where to go, how to live there, and you'll find tons and tons of people. Just go be friendly. Go be friendly, respectful, approach carefully, wisely, respectfully. You'll make friends.
Yes, I agree. I'm like Bob, I'm an introvert, and I really enjoy traveling alone. And I can't tell you how many times solo women have approached me, because after you're out here for a while, you kind of can spot us. And they'll say, are you traveling alone? And, we'll have a nice chat, or we'll arrange to get together for coffee the next morning or something. So it just takes some trial and error, and it's a little bit of risk from your part. So.
If you want friends, be friendly. It's just that simple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hard to execute. Simple
concept. Yeah. Okay. R. Fatima Jaffrey asks, will the swag be for sale after the RTR? Absolutely. It will be for sale after the RTR. And in fact, if you are interested in last RTR swag, I can give you the URL for that. It is actually on Cheap RV Living's store, but all the proceeds from sales at that store go to HOWA, and that URL is Teespring, spelled TEESPRING.com/stores, STORES/Cheap RV Living Store. And go there and you'll see the 2020 RTR items, some Cheap RV Living items, and some Homes on Wheels Alliance items. So there you go. It kind of lives on forever. Okay. Let's see. Time for card 2. Lynette French, where can we go to get more information about jobs at the tent at Quartzsite, since we are not physically there?
Did you look up the big tent? Want to see when it was on?
It starts this Saturday, I believe.
This Saturday.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Yeah, just if you're in Quartzsite, if you're in the Southwest Desert area, come to Quartzsite. And I do recommend going right away. It's to the Big Tent. The Big Tent is the Quartzsite RV show. If you look it up online, and you can, it's right there, and you can find the dates in for the future too. The Quartzsite RV show on at a Google search, and you'll find it. And it's a big tent. It's literally a great, enormous tent. I'm told it's the biggest vendor's tent in the world, but I don't know if that's true. But it's enormous. I do know that. Hundreds and hundreds of feet long and wide. And they're all the vendors who hire for summer employment, and a different variety. Amazon has had booths there. I assume they still will again. The Beet Harvest has a booth there in the past. I assume they will. I'm sure they will again, because that went on just fine. And the big thing is the National Forest campgrounds. They have multiple booths. I think the last time I was there, there were like 6, 8, 10 booths with people hiring. And so I tell people, you really should go the first day. You're most likely to get your job. And when you go in, if you're looking for National Forest work, tell them you're willing to work remote. Some of the vendors won't care because they don't have remote campgrounds. Some of them have a lot of remote campgrounds and they have a hard time filling. The RVers won't go there because the remote campgrounds probably won't have facilities. It won't have electric. It won't have running water. So you have to go prepared to live on your own independently. And so when I worked, I was campground host for 4 years. And we had a campground that was so remote, we let people in with Jeeps and tents. You could go there and live in a tent, and any vehicle you could get into the campsite. It was very high, the Sierras. It was probably at 8, 9, 10,000 feet, and deep into the Sierras, as far as deep as you can get on a road. And so they would take anybody in any vehicle if they would go up there. No facilities other than the toilet. They always have a pit toilet. And so if it's almost a certainty you can get a job there. What's the big one place in Iowa? The fairground type thing. I forget, but they hire tons and tons of people, and I've known a lot of people that
An amusement park.
It's an amusement park. I think it's in Iowa. It's one of the country's biggest. Adventureland or
something. I think that might
something
be
like that.
Yeah.
And they hire there a lot. You're almost certain to find a job for the summer, and so just be there the first day. And we think the first day is this Saturday. Any idea the date?
I believe it starts this weekend and runs through the following weekend. So like 10 days.
Yeah.
So if you're not physically here in Quartzsite, which I believe is what Lynette was wondering, what I would do is I would go to the Big Tent website and look to see who the vendors are. And then it takes work on your part, but then check them off and go to the vendor's website. And like I know for sure, if you go to like California Land Management website, which is a vendor at the Big Tent, you'll see their human resources department and their jobs listed. So it would just mean actually, instead of going to the Big Tent physically, you go to their website and then do some sleuthing and find who to talk to at each of those companies to get hired.
Yeah, I worked for California Land Management for 3 years as a campground host, and I would talk to my boss, and he would say, "Yeah, we hope they always have a booth there. Every year I've been there, they've had a booth. I'm sure they will this year." And my boss told me, "Yeah, we send people there, and by the end of that, the RV show, the Quartzsite Big Tent, they hope to hire for the entire season, but they never do." So if you went right now to the CLM, California Land Management website, if you type into Google CLM employment, you will go find all their jobs listed. And you could call, they'll give you a phone number for the main office. Call the phone number, tell them that you want to apply, and you can apply right now and get a jump. So you don't have to physically be there. You have an advantage by physically being there because
the recruiters are there. Yeah.
And they'll do an in-person interview, and other than you still have to go and fill out the form, and they have a certain background checks that they have to do. You'll have a job when you walk out of there. You'll have a job as long as you pass all the background information. So really big plus to go there. If not, but you can still get it. There'll be jobs even afterwards.
Good. So JB wants to know how to see Nomadland.
Right now, you can't unless you're in. I get people from New Zealand and Australia and around the world. Places with it still have internationally. It has been released and is doing really, really well. Um, it has not been released yet broadly in the United States. We believe it will come out on February 19th, and I don't know how it's going to be released yet. On theaters or Netflix or Disney or Hulu or
who knows? I think perhaps the distributor Searchlight doesn't even know yet.
Yeah,
because of the situation with the pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did do a very limited small release, so they could be in 2020, so they could be available for Oscars. This is a primary Oscar contender. I'd be amazed if this movie didn't win a few or a lot of Oscars.
Yeah, that's the buzz anyway from those that are supposed to know.
The critics have seen it, and they all love it.
Yeah, and that limited release that Bob was talking about was an online release where you had to rent the movie, and it sold out, I'm told, in 48 hours. So it was quick. Jehu, I don't do any Facebook, and I tried to look at Cheap RV Living's forums, but had a ton of gobbledygook in order to use it. So, Jehu, I think you're talking about the need to register and provide a password and things. I'm guessing that's what you mean by the gobbledygook. And that's just what we need to do to keep the site secure from trolls. And having managed that forum for many years, we do get a lot of trolls if we don't manage that. So I'm sorry, but that's just the way it has to be. Now, just so that you know, you do not need to do a login to go in and read everything. So that information is available for view. You just can't type anything in.
Right. You can't post, but you can read.
Right. Exactly. Deborah Gilburn wants to know how much space the electric e-bike takes up.
I've got a couple of videos. You really need to see it. I can't really describe it on words. It takes up quite a bit of space. It folds. It's a small one. It's a kind of a mini portable bike, and it folds in half. So the best thing I can tell you is, and then the seat goes down or it comes off, I forget, and the handlebars turn completely sideways. I can only suggest you go to Cheap RV Living and look it up. And I think the last one we did, she actually folded it up. She carries it in her inside in her minivan, folded up. And so I think we show. I'm sure I intended to show her picking it up, putting it in her minivan, and seeing where she stows it. So I can't really describe to you for 1.5 crossed by 3 feet long. Mm-hmm. And that's just probably a wild guess.
2.5 feet tall, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's pretty heavy. It's about 50 pounds. So, and it's awkward. Having moved them more times than I can count. Christy in the minivan could store it both ways. She could store it unfolded and folded. So just know that in a minivan, if you have like half of it free, you can even put it through the side door unfolded.
Yeah, you really need to see it and not have us describe it for you.
Yeah. Okay, Deborah Anderson asks, can future nomads post on Camp Together to seek local future nomads? For example, people prepping for going on the road. Currently, the purpose of that group is current people on the road, people currently seeking campmates, either because they have a camp or they want to find a camp. However, we do have a HOWA group, a Homes on Wheels Alliance group, that is just an open discussion group. And that would be a great place to ask that question, to see if anybody is prepping to be a nomad in your area of the country, and can you connect? So yeah, it's not on the Camp Together group, but the HOWA group. Please use that in Facebook. Okay, Kevin Knoll, can you disperse camp on BLM land even though it is not posted that you can disperse camp?
My opinion on both National Forest and BLM land is their obligation is, it's all open. It's their obligation to tell me if it is not. and that has been true for me. I don't have any problem at all telling you that's the advice I give you. Unless it's posted as no camping, it is open to camp on, for open to dispersed camping. Sometimes you have to you have to accomplish due diligence. With national forests, they have a map called a motor vehicle use map, and that sometimes, not always, there's no way to know unless you get an MVUM. It's free. They'll give it to you at any office. You can download it as a download from the National Forest. So if you're going to the Coconino National Forest, you can download it from the Coconino National Forest website. And in fact, in the Coconino, on the MVUM, it lists all the open legal roads on the forest in Coconino National Forest, and then it shows you where you can camp. So there you kind of have an obligation to get the map, but if you don't, no one's going to say anything. They'll just come in and say, this isn't legal camping. You're going to have to move. That's all. And that rarely happens. But on BLM, that doesn't exist yet. I think it will come, but it doesn't exist yet. And I go camp anywhere that's not posted as no camping. Near us, near here in Quartzsite, there's a place where they say day use only, and that's what they always say. Almost always say no camping, day use only, or just day use only. And if you see a sign like that, you can't camp there. And if you don't see a sign like that, go for it.
And sometimes public lands are checkerboarded, and so you don't know if you're on public land or private land. We have some apps out there that we can use. Like when we came here, I didn't know if we were on public or private land, because I know we're surrounded by both. And so I used U.S. public lands, and sure enough, we're on BLM land right now. So get yourself some tools.
Let me just say that again. U.S. public lands. It's on both the Android and Apple, and it's I think it's $3. Last time I looked, it was $3. Right. Well worth it. It will show you. It ties into the GPS on the phone. You can what they call an overlay, and it will show you all public lands of all kinds. Corps of Engineers or National Wildlife, private, state, BLM. It shows it all with color coding. And as you're driving down the road, you're tied into the phone's GPS, and you can watch you drive in and out of public land. It's superb. U.S. public lands. Every nomad, boondocking nomad, should have it.
Very good. Trick Coleman asked, will you be doing any classes where people can join with you over video to ask questions, or are all the questions typed like these? That's a really good question. So the classes for the online RTRs that start tomorrow and go through the 20th, all of the questions will be submitted just like you're submitting questions right now over chat. We do have virtual caravan connections. They're not a class per se. They're more of a discussion format. But people ask all kinds of questions there, and other people answer all kinds of questions there, and that is all done by video format over just a regular Zoom meeting. If you're interested in that kind of format and that kind of interaction, go to meetup.com/caravans. Eventually, maybe we'll have classes that will have be able to do the video from participants. Right now, we are a bit overwhelmed with what we're doing just with chat. This is our first year, so I'm, like I said, I'm looking forward to it, and it's stretching our capabilities. Okay, we have 2 minutes to, and how about if we go with one more question. Can Bob show us where to meet for the Camp with Bob in Skadden Marsh campground? I'll be there that week. Be a bunch of great knowledgeable folks there.
Yeah, absolutely right. Thank you for mentioning that. I hadn't even thought about it. I just shot the video, and it will come out Friday. Friday morning, a video. I drive out. I give you the GPS point, and I just.
Your phone. Your phone. You gotta re-enter the broadcast. Hi there. Yeah, so what Bob was in the middle of saying, he's going to re-enter the broadcast, but he was in the middle of saying that he shot that video for the, he has shot the video for Directions to Skadden Wash to Camp with Bob. And so that will come out on Friday morning on the Cheap RV Living channel. And if you guys can stand by, we will be getting Bob and Sue Ann back on here. We're still live. So 1 second and they'll be right back.
You're backstage. So,
Casey has to let us in.
okay. So, you want to put that on here? Live. It says we're live.
Okay.
Hi, guys. I'm upside down. I don't know what to do.
This should just go. This should just work.
You're in the back room, it says.
Oh, you're in the show. We're in the
I'm on
show.
the show?
Why doesn't it turn over automatically?
Okay.
We're showing us up.
We're sideways.
Yeah, that's weird. Oh, I did that wrong. Okay, I gotta turn this around.
Okay. Be patient with us, folks.
There's a lot of noise.
So it's the back camera that?
Yeah, it's the front camera. And I wasn't able to figure out the other way to do it.
Oh, okay.
No, let's see. Oh no, what's the other way? I'm sorry, folks. This is probably all puking and saying, "What's going on?" I have to reset up on a new phone. My phone, I think I think the battery's dead.
Oh, we could plug it in.
Well, we had to do this. Well, if this doesn't work, we'll. Oh, and I got to come back in again. I threw us out.
Okay. You guys, why don't we just do bubbles
Well,
let's not do bubbles.
We have to get in first. Okay, I'm entering the broadcast studio. Okay, we're back. We're backstage.
Sitting back on both your phones. I gotta have the other screen.
Here, take.
What do you want? Yeah, I think I might need to work in specific StreamYard.
Oh, we might have to open two places. See if we're in two places and turn it on.
So, welcome to the first live feed of Homeschool Alliance. You got no video on, man. Your kids off. Yeah, if it's open twice, the video's between the other one.
Only one's open. I'll close it.
We're actually still live, and Bob and Sue Ann are going to be coming on in just 1 second.
It's still wonky.
Oh, it's on. Hopefully it's on.
I think, does it say we're on in the back room or in stage?
You're in the show. We're in the
you're
show.
Okay, thanks. Okay.
This is a good time. Oh, put it on wrong again. Yeah.
Are you sure? Okay, you said that's the only way you can get it to work.
I'm gonna touch something back. There we go. We should sing. What do you want to sing while we're doing this?
Row, row, row your boat.
Row, row, roll your boat gently down the
Bob,
stream.
you're
Yeah.
sideways.
I don't know
Sideways.
why. I can't. With that, we can't figure out.
Okay, well, you can finish the live feed sideways anyway. Oh, you're gone. Okay, you guys, sorry. They're gone out of the studio. So, let me see if I can answer any of these questions. The best way to volunteer for HOWA is to write to homesonwheelsalliance.org, and then there should be a tab for volunteers. And then, let's see. Okay, the rest of these really need to be answered by them. So let me see if I can help them get back on. Oh, we should just end it. Okay, here we go. There we go.
If we get it on, we'll just say our final words.
Okay. Let's see. There we go. Okay. We're saying goodbye, folks. Sorry for the seasickness that you're feeling right now. We will make it better next live stream, and our technologies are different for the online RTRs, and so that's the good news. We'll see you later. Looking forward to seeing you at the RTRs. And the last thing I want to leave you with is, if anybody is in an emergency situation right now, unexpected as a nomad, please write and ask for assistance from the emergency fund at efund@homesonwheelsalliance.org. Until next live feed, we'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.